What's up, guys, and welcome back to another video on the channel. This time we are talking about the top 5 baits for the month of August. This one is going to be a pretty good one. The month of August just has such good fishing, typically, especially up here in the Northeast. Down south, when things get really hot, it kind of gets a little bit tougher, but up here everything is like going, everything's happening. Nights are getting a little bit cooler, but it's still hot days. And those fish are, this is when they're eating a ton. This is kind of the beginning of the fall transition. And those fish just start kind of feeding up. They get pretty aggressive, and they're still all over the pond. They're shallow, they're deep, they're everywhere. So gonna kind of jump into my top 5, some smallmouth, some largemouth, some that are for both. First and foremost, gonna start out on top. So topwater is so much fun, obviously, but it's right now is the time to really do that and to really dial it in. Obviously you have like the frog bite and all of that. That's still going to happen, especially middle of the day, those overcast days, whatever. But this time of year, and really all year, but right now is when I really pick the buzzbait back up. It's an early season, like springtime thing for me, and then from now all the way through until that water drops back below like 50, I'm gonna throw the buzzbait. So this is the Martin's Custom Baits buzzbait. I have a ton of confidence in this. I throw it all over the place, but it's loud out of the package. It swims straight. That's really what you want. You want something that doesn't get all like covered in grass or whatever all the time. This works great for that, and it's heavy enough to throw them. I throw this on my frog rod and I like set the hook, reel them in, like really put a lot to them. And this buzzbait stands up to it. So where I'm throwing this is like around, grass or docks or really any cover, even if it's like offshore grass that comes up and there's like a 2-foot gap between the top of the grass and the bottom of the top of the water. I'll throw it over that and those fish will come up and eat this. It's really good, just kind of all over the place, especially as it gets like, early mornings, early to mid morning, and then if it's overcast, throw it all day, but if it is like hot in the middle of the day, wait until the sun starts to kind of go down and then pick it back up and start throwing it again. It's just a tried and true deal, especially on grass fisheries, but really all over the place. Buzzbait is a deal. I throw this on a 9-to-1, I think it's a 9-to-1, 9.5-to-1 reel, and this is the Dobbins frog rod. It's a 7.3. It doesn't have a ton of backbone. Like, it has a lot, it's good, but it's got a little bit faster tip for a frog, which is great for the buzzbait. Gives those fish time to eat it, and then you can like lean on them. So I like this rod for the buzzbait. I also have a Lew's rod that I'll throw it on that I really like it for, but it's the Lew's KVD. It's like that frog rod. But either one of those, great low budget options. This is the Fury series. It's not super expensive, but when you're watching the fish come up, blow up on it, and then you just set the hook into them, you just need a rod that has you don't need it to feel a lot. You just need it to have the backbone and the power to get that fish to the boat. And then of course the reel to do it as well. But that's gonna be, if I got out tomorrow morning and started my day early, this is what I'm starting with. Gonna throw that. And on the back of this too, for trailers, I'll throw like a Rage Menace or an Adrenaline Craw or a Cleanup Craw. I like the craw style. Just works better for me. I have a ton of confidence in those. Once in a while I'll throw like a paddle tail, especially if I'm throwing like a shad color. But for low light, you want that little bit of movement. So that's what I'm going with, and kind of those different trailers. Next, we'll keep it on top, but this is gonna be kind of a little bit more subtle approach. So this is just a small walking bait. This is the Strike King KVD. You can tell this thing has been thrown all over the place. Like, it is, it's got rust marks on it. It's sat in the bottom of my kayak. I love this bait. I've caught, I don't even know how many fish on it. And again, this is something I'm gonna throw from now until the end of fall. Same sort of thing, same areas. Obviously you can't throw this through grass or pads like you can with the buzzbait, but you can get this around the ends of docks or around like, like hard cover, like dock posts or things like that. or just open, like expansive flats of grass, anything where it's not topped out, but it's close. And the nice thing about the walking baits or the spooks is that you can kind of keep them at whatever speed you want. Like you can kind of like slow twitch and or you can work it really quick and it's tut, 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 all the way across. So it really, you can do a lot with this bait and draw a lot of different reaction bites. And it will catch smallmouth and largemouth the same. This size, this is the smaller one. I throw that a lot if it's more pressured or if it just doesn't like, if it doesn't have like a lot of big fish, I'm gonna go to this little bit smaller one. If I know I'm going for big fish and I want like a bigger bite, I'm gonna go to like a super spook or something like that, the bigger one with 3 hooks and throw that. Like when I fish like Gunnersville or something like that in the fall, that's the one I'm gonna throw. It's just a little bit bigger. The class of fish is a little bit bigger. But for up here, up north, this guy is day in, day out. The one that I'm gonna throw has that chrome belly on it. And I'll throw this on 20-pound braid to a short leader of mono. Fluorocarbon will sink. So if you throw fluorocarbon as your leader, it's gonna draw that bait down in the water and it's gonna wanna pull it under. So you want something obviously to keep that bait floating. Monofilament's gonna be your best bet on that. I'll throw anywhere from 20 down to 15, sometimes 12, but I don't think the line size really matters, especially on topwater. So if you can get away with that heavier size, throw the heavier size. But I go super short on the leader just because when you're twitching that bait, you just don't want it to get fouled up on the braid. But the braid's gonna cast a lot better, and it's just more versatile. So that's what I'm doing. This is a 7.3-to-1 Abu Garcia Revo Premier. This reel is old, it's been beat up, but it still gets the job done. So that's what I'm throwing this on. And the rod is the KVD jerkbait rod. So this rod, I'm only gonna throw that smaller bait on. Even like a Karashi or something like that, I'm gonna throw on this jerkbait rod. If I go to the bigger one, I'm gonna throw it on more of like a trap rod or a bladed jig rod, something like that, that still has that little bit of give to it, but I can bomb that bait way out there. I know some guys will throw it on like a cranking rod, but that just seems to be a little bit too soft for the way that I like to fish them. It is treble hook, so you don't want something too powerful. You don't want to throw it on a frog rod. But the jerkbait rod, obviously that's made for treble hooks, can cast this thing super, super far. This is the 6.6 KVD, or the 610 KVD, medium heavy, fast action jerkbait rod. So again, pretty inexpensive. Works great for me. I also have a St. Croix Bass X that I'll throw a jerkbait on, and I'll do the same thing. I'll throw this on that. So pick your size, depending on the lake that you're fishing, what you're fishing for, if it's bigger fish or, you know, whatever. If I'm like Champlain, for example, throwing that bigger one, just because the class of smallmouth there is so much better than like what I have around here. But this little guy gets bit, but in the month of August, this guy right here is tough to beat. Let's go, we'll stick in the shallow water stuff for now. The most fun way to catch them. Big rod, big weight, big reel, all that stuff, big line. If I can catch them flipping grass this time of year, that's definitely what I'm gonna be doing. It just doesn't happen everywhere, especially being from Connecticut. We have destroyed grass in most of our lakes here. It's really hard to find grass good enough to flip or like punch. So you don't need anything super, super heavy, but there's a few lakes that you can get away with still, you know, bringing out the big stick and going out and, you know, fishing through some stuff and whatever. So for me, if I'm going somewhere where I don't know exactly what to expect, but I know that there's a little bit of grass there, I'm always gonna start with 3/4 ounce weight, pegged, and a 4/0 flipping hook. That's just kind of middle of the road. Just gets you kind of started. That if it's getting through everything really easy, maybe you want to go down to a half. That's, you know, not typical if you're flipping grass, but sometimes. And then if it's really thick and it's thicker than you thought, you're going to want to go up to ounce, 1.25 ounces. I haven't really found anything here that is more than that, maybe on the river. But if you need to go heavier, obviously just keep your line heavy, 50, 60 pound braid. and then you're just going to adjust that weight. But a 4/0 flipping hook is perfect. This is the VMC Redline. I really like those. You guys have seen in videos, I throw those a lot. Ton of confidence in them, so that's my setup there. I also go old school on pegging, so I'll use the little rubber guy that everyone's using now, but I will also throw a toothpick inside my weight from the bottom, break it off. That is gonna hold your weight so much better, especially when you have a big line like this. You're not gonna screw up your line. Obviously keep an eye on it. If you're catching a ton of fish, keep an eye on it, but typically 50, 60 pound braid, you don't have to worry about, you know, that toothpick, but it's gonna hold your weight there a lot better, and you're not gonna constantly be adjusting that little rubber stop. But the rubber stop does keep grass and stuff off when it's going through. I think it goes through a little bit better with the rubber stop, so I do still keep that on, but I'll put a toothpick in the bottom for just kind of extra support there. Like I said, 50 pound braid. And then this is the Daiwa flipping pitching 8-to-1 reel. I love this thing. It's got the big power handles on it, so when you get those fish, you have so much torque, you can really get them out of whatever you need. And then this is the Magnum pitch and stick from Lew's. This is 7.4, heavy, fast. It's light. It's not super expensive. Again, I don't go with super expensive stuff because I don't think that's reasonable for most people, and I just don't see the value in a lot of that stuff. So this is what I'm using day in, day out for flipping. I'll punch in Florida on this. This is rated for up to 2 ounces. So like you can literally flip the biggest weight in that plain old box right there, and this rod will handle it no problem. So one of the most fun ways to catch them, baits that I like to throw on this. So, you know, I'll throw the Bronco bug, I'll throw the adrenaline craw for sure. The Crushity cleanup craw is really good. There's a lot of baits that are just great for flipping. The menaces are good. I really keep it pretty simple, and I also like throwing things that you can go to the store and buy. I do have some stuff in my tackle boxes that, you know, are hard to find or whatever, but the worst thing in the world is when they're biting something and you are down to 2 or 1, and you know for a fact you cannot go get any more. So that's also part of the reason that I stick to the baits that I do. I'm not talking about urchins and stuff like that because they're so hard to get right now that I want to stick to stuff that you guys can go try out this weekend or this month. So I'll stop with my rant, but that's it. This flipping grass, you know, heavy cover, anything where like a blow-in mat, anything where there's like really heavy grass, don't be afraid to get all the way in there. And if you flip into something and your weight sits on top, just get a bigger weight and go right back in there, because those fish do live in that stuff. You want to get through it. Right now that stuff's going to be as high as it's going to be and probably as healthy as it's going to be. Once we get these colder nights coming in, that grass is just going to start to die off and those fish are going to kind of get out of it. So right now it's as nice as it's going to be. Get in there and go punch through that stuff and catch some absolute giants. It's one of the best ways to catch a big fish this time of year because they are up there, and honestly I don't think a lot of guys are doing it. So I think you have less pressured fish. I think a lot of guys throw frogs over that, things like that. So if you're willing to take your time, pick it apart, and go dobbing around, you're gonna have really good luck with that in the month of August. And then we go out deep with the spinny scope and poles. So for me, this time of year, and really you can do this anytime after the post spawn or during the post spawn, but once those fish offshore get a lot of pressure, they're seeing jigs, they're seeing everything, they've seen it all a million times, crankbaits and whatever. The drop shot is one of those things that will continue to get bit no matter how much they see it. It's tried and true up here, it's tried and true everywhere. You can slow down and finesse fish and get bit all over the country right now, but up north, my last couple videos, it's really been, the last couple days I've gone fishing, it's really been my staple, is what I'm catching a lot of fish on right now, is the drop shot, and that will continue through the month of August, September. I mean, really until you get bored of throwing it, but they will keep biting it. This is the Tatula Longcast Universal, or Universal Longcast Tatula, however you want to say it. it's a great rod. It's a 7.6. It's like more of like a medium, medium light, I would say, but it's a great rod. It's really good for drop shots and anything finesse. I throw 10-pound InvizX fluorocarbon to a 12-pound Suffix revolve braid. And this is on the Vanford 3000 size. So it's just kind of the spinning rod I have all the time, but the drop shot, really, really hard to beat. I like threading my baits on. So instead of nose hooking, I'll thread them all the way on like that, or Texas rig them depending on where I'm fishing and what kind of cover's around. So if I'm throwing, you know, like a robo worm, I'll get a bigger hook. I like the VMC Nikos, the red line Nikos, but whatever hook you like best is fine. But I will, if I'm fishing kind of out open water stuff, gonna leave it exposed like that, and I'll do the same thing on a robo worm. I'll just thread it right on. But if I'm in a little bit of grass or something like that, I'll Texas rig it. Just size your hook up just a little bit if you're gonna be Texas rigging, just to open up that gap, to give those fish a little bit more to bite. And then when you set the hook, you can get those fish in the boat rather than keeping it small. And then your worm's gonna take up most of the gap there, and it's gonna be really hard to hook those fish. So just keep that in mind when you're picking your hook sizes or whatever. But as far as plastics go for this, there's thousands and thousands to choose from. The Maxent flatworm is the staple up here, especially smallmouth, largemouth, doesn't really matter. They're all gonna eat it. And it is, again, tried and true, just works. Green pumpkin is the color I use more than any for this, but other baits that you can throw. So I really, really like the robo worm. I like the hit worm from Berkeley, the D worm from Berkeley. I mean, there's so many. You can drop shot like a Hazadong, I think is what it's called, shad from Megabass, the little paddle tails. Drop shot in those is phenomenal, especially if there's a lot of like bait around or gobies or something like that. I mean, kind of pick your poison on what you want to drop shot, but you can drop shot really anything, and threading it on for me has been a huge game changer. You used to throw the little drop shot hooks, the nose hooks, and you would catch fish. It's just such a small hook, and there's so much bait behind it that they would short strike it a lot. So this just gives you a lot more. And if I go to a new lake today and I don't know exactly how deep or what I'm going to be fishing, I always start with a 1/4 ounce. It just gets you down. I mean, you can fish 35, 40, 50 feet with it if you want, or you can fish up under docks. So it really gives you different options, and it's a great starting point. If you're fishing really deep or those fish want it fast, go up to 1/2 ounce. If they want it really, really slow, or you're getting hung up a lot, like if you're in rocks and you're getting, you know, hung up and breaking off a lot of weights, just size it down. Just go a little bit lighter. You're gonna have less of a chance of getting stuck in those areas. So just kind of, you know, use your best judgment on it. And for me, 1/4 ounce to start with, and 10-pound InvizX fluorocarbon is what I throw on a drop shot 99% of the time. If I'm fishing around a lot of trees, cover, things like that, I'll up to 15 if I have to. Like when I was at Santee Cooper, I was throwing 15, but for around here, 10-pound, especially just to start and see kind of where we're at, that's what I'm going to start with. And yeah, hard to beat a drop shot in the month of August for sure. And last but certainly not least, this guy is new. He came out in the spring, but they were hard to get. Now they're available, so now we'll talk about them. This is the Covert series football from Martin's Custom Baits. That jig is a bad little dude. So it's got this little weed guard on it, so it's not crazy. And I've been messing around with throwing it on the spinning rod and throwing it on a casting rod. It works great on both. Obviously with the spinning rod, you just have a little bit more sensitivity. And I think it works a little bit better for me. So I'll probably keep doing that, but so far really liking throwing it on a spinning rod. So again, this I'll throw 10, but typically I'll throw 12 just because I'm dragging around the rocks and heavy, like hard cover. not heavy cover, hard cover. Typically rocks or offshore, you know, like gravel bars or sand or whatever. So I'll typically go to 12-pound line, 15 depending on what I'm doing, and then that same Suffix revolve braid, I think it's called. And this is a 2500 Stratic. The spinner rod I use on a lot of things. Again, these are a little bit more expensive, but they are worth the money. They just, having a good drag and being confident in it is something that is, you know, it's super, super valuable. So if you can do that, obviously, I would recommend upgrading to Stratics, but if you can't, it is what it is. Fish what you can afford. You do not need to have certain things to go catch bass. You can catch bass on whatever it is that you already own or whatever's in your price range. Doesn't need to be a 250 or 260, whatever these are, dollar reel. The rod, this is a Lancer Pro. Again, I have a 200 and something dollar reel on a $99 rod. This is the 7-1 extra fast medium. I use this rod a ton. This is an arc rod. I use it for all sorts of stuff. It's a little bit heavier, which I kind of throw everything a little bit heavier, which is just kind of my personal preference. But this is a little bit of a heavier rod, but I like it for, you know, jigs or tubes or anything like that. But I'll also throw a minnow on it. I really throw anything that you would throw on a spinning rod on this because I just like the rod, but works really, really good for this. It's rated, let's see, for 1/8 to 5, or 1/8 to 5/8. And this is a 9/16 ounce jig. So right in the ballpark, 5/8, 9/16. We're right there by an eighth of an ounce. So, or a 1/16 of an ounce, I mean, right? Whatever we are, I don't know. But we're right in the ballpark of what this is rated for. And the cool thing about these is the head shape, or the head design, is like got like a hexagon kind of pattern on it, and it's stamped. So that's really cool when you're thinking about like tackle organization, or, you know, what size am I throwing, what size was I throwing. You can just look down and you're like, oh, this is a 9/16. They also have it in the 7/16, so you can kind of pick, you know, if you're going a little bit shallower or deeper or whatever. But yeah, bad little jig, fluoro, spinning rod, casting rod. If you like to throw jigs on a casting rod, do that. But this is something that I'll have tied on all the way through December, like literally until it freezes and I can't get out there anymore. I'm gonna be throwing these jigs. They are just that good, and they're a little profile on that. Right now is a little TRD craw. I will throw net bait, has a pack of chunk, or I'll just cut down like a adrenaline craw, or Yamamoto has some good trailers, like a grub trailers, or there's so many little finesse trailers. You could literally throw a TRD on this too. Like if you just want to throw a regular TRD, you could do that and make it more of like a Ned rig jig. It's got a pretty small hook on it, but it's super, super stout. So tons of different trailer options depending on your fishery, but I have caught largemouth, smallmouth all on this. And yeah, it's a great all around jig. So for me, those are gonna be my top 5 baits of the month. It is so hard to pick 5 and stick with just 5 baits, but if I had to only have 5, those are gonna be them. There's always more I could add, but you guys let me know what you would add or take away in the comments. And please don't forget, like, subscribe, comment. That stuff goes a long way to try to help grow the channel. And hopefully you guys enjoy this video, and we will see you guys back on the water in the next one.